Is Christopher Nolan's upcoming The Odyssey the last chance for the historical epic fantasy genre in Hollywood? I ask this because it sure feels like if this movie fails, the entire genre is doomed. Let's face it, if this movie comes out and it fails, if a director like Nolan couldn't make a big budget historical epic fantasy film work, why would Hollywood risk its resources on creating more with lesser known filmmakers in the future? When it was announced that Nolan's next film, following his box office hit and Oscar-winning Oppenheimer, was going to be an adaptation of the iconic piece of literature, The Odyssey, many people, myself included, freaked out in a good way. For myself, I thought, oh my god, could we be getting a huge, big-budget, epic historical fantasy film like we used to get back in the day? Given how Nolan is always looking for a challenge in whatever new project he takes on, it seems that something as grand in scale like The Odyssey would be his most challenging, and after the release of the official trailer a few days ago, it seems like that's the case. This video's main point won't be talking about the trailer itself, I'll get into that later on in the video though. The main point of this video is I want to discuss how I feel that this film is the last chance, or the final Hail Mary if you want to call it that, for the epic historical fantasy genre of movies. We all remember historical epics, right? Movies such as Gladiator, Braveheart, Troy, Kingdom of Heaven. You can go back even further in history to the golden age of Hollywood, where we got movies such as The Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, and Lawrence of Arabia. All true classics in every sense of the word. Who doesn't love those type of movies? You got big sweeping landscape shots, beautiful cinematography, grand scale and scope and feel, great characters, grand scale action set pieces, and so on and so on. Historical epics are, for one word, epic. And sometimes when you add fantasy elements, you get something like Lord of the Rings, a trilogy that will never be topped. Am I saying the upcoming Odyssey will be like Lord of the Rings? No, those movies are never going to be challenged in my opinion, but The Odyssey does have a shot of reinvigorating movie-going audiences to historical epics. It's no secret that Hollywood has almost given up on the historical epic genre entirely in recent years, or even decades, in favor of boring, hollow, generic, and simply forgettable entertainment, or God forbid, the dreaded content, what people call it nowadays. In the early 2000s, we got so many good historical epics, like I mentioned earlier, and now we maybe get, one or two if we're lucky, and those aren't even good like what we used to get. We get some here and now, mainly Ridley Scott, which, to his credit, at least he's trying. He's trying to make movies that people don't make anymore, but I personally didn't like all three of his most recent historical epics, but I'll give him props, because at least someone's out there trying to make something different than what we normally get with modern Hollywood. The genre itself has been in a bit of a slumber in recent decades, which is a shame because everyone I talk to personally and the comments I see online, everyone loves these kind of movies and wonders why we don't get them anymore. The Odyssey is the first historical epic in a while that's gotten people excited and talking about the genre again, and who can blame them? A brand new movie in a genre that people have been clamoring for. It's based on a piece of literature that pretty much everyone on Earth has at least heard about, and to top it all off, it's being directed by arguably the greatest, most in-demand director in Hollywood. How can this not be at least good? Having Christopher Nolan as a director on a project like this is enough to get anybody excited, given how Nolan likes to make his movies feel like event films. What's more of an event like The Odyssey, a story that everyone's familiar with? I truly believe we are on the verge of something special. From the set photos that have been released that show actors on actual boats on the actual ocean with real waves, to hearing reports that Nolan is relying on mostly practical effects for the numerous iconic creatures that will be in the film, such as the Cyclops, Sirens, and Scylla. We saw a brief glimpse of the Cyclops in the most recent trailer, and got a better glimpse of him in the 6-minute prologue that was released in IMAX theaters along with Avatar Fire and Ash recently. And I gotta say, the Cyclops looks good. I won't show a picture of, there is a picture out there that was released from the prologue, which I'm not going to show it here because I don't want to risk this video get taken down by Universal, but let's just say he looks so good. You can tell that it seems like it's sort of a mixture between an actual puppet effect and a real life actor. It looks so cool and I can't wait to see it in the actual film. The trailer itself doesn't show much, but it does show enough to get anyone who loves historical epics excited. You already see big sweeping landscape shots on both land and sea. You get a glimpse of the real world effects, if you want to call them that, like the waves from the ocean splashing on Damon's Odysseus and the rest of his crew. Something like that is something that CGI cannot replicate no matter how good it is. It's one of those things that your mind just sees and goes, hey, that's real. It just knows. The 6-minute prologue that was released in IMAX gave us a better understanding on what the film will feel like tonally. It basically showcases Odysseus' assault on Troy via the Trojan horse. You see Odysseus and his men slowly take Troy, allowing Agamemnon and his army to barge the gates. The whole scene is simply jaw-dropping to look at. You could really feel the epicness and giant scope of scale during the scene, and if the movie is anything like that prologue, we are going to witness a true cinematic spectacle that we have not gotten in a while. One thing I can't help but ponder though is, even though there's a lot of hype for this movie, it feels like it's a make or break for the entire genre like I mentioned at the beginning. The Odyssey is a bit different from the genre because it also includes fantasy elements with the gods and creatures. The last time I can remember getting a fantasy film set in this time period is the Clash of the Titans movies with Sam Worthington from the early 2010s, which I happen to like both of them. Now, those movies aren't classified as historical epics, but because they're not, but they're the closest things I can think of to Sword and Sandals meets big budget fantasy similar to the Odyssey. That was the last time I can remember a movie feeling similar to this, and those films were roughly 15 and 13 years ago respectively. When they were released, they did okay at the box office, but didn't ignite the audiences, so to speak. Those films were released at a time where Hollywood still took some chances, something it doesn't do anymore. Since then, Hollywood has turned more corporatized, if you want to call it that, and they want more content. Every cinephile's favorite word. Today, all we get are sequels, remakes, big bloated budget streaming films that for the most part are just god-awful. I can't think of the last time in recent years where Hollywood took a chance on a film it doesn't normally make. Maybe Oppenheimer, which happens to be another Nolan film, which is funny. Something like the Odyssey, especially the way Nolan's shooting it, mostly practical, is an anomaly for modern Hollywood. The reported budget for the Odyssey is roughly $250 million. Spending that kind of cash on a project from any director is insane, let alone a movie that's in a genre that Hollywood seems to have forgotten. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if this movie comes out and fails, the whole genre is pretty much toast. If a director like Nolan, a big-time Oscar-winning director who everyone knows his name, can't make a historical epic fantasy film work, who the hell else is going to give him the chance to? Hollywood already doesn't take the chances it needs to in order for its industry to survive, and if the Odyssey fails, those chances are going to be even fewer and farther between. The Odyssey is our last hope for the entire historical epic fantasy genre in Hollywood, and even risk-taking big-budget filmmaking in general.